What is up, everybody? Thanks again so much for joining me here today. My name is Jeremy. I'm a motion graphics designer, animator, and 3D hobbyist. This show is an unrehearsed screen recording of my workflow and a peek into my journey to develop a deeper design skill set. Here, it's not so much practice makes perfect, but more practice makes progress. This is The Drill. Alright, so this week on The Drill, I'm having more fun with xParticles. There's a ton to explore, so I don't think this channel is going to be dedicated strictly to xParticles, but this episode and the last few certainly have been. So right off the bat, I just started kind of playing around. I didn't really have a clear direction this week. I just wanted to play around and see what kind of effectors I could play with. So I landed on the xpSplineMesher, and kind of keeping with the theme of playing with splines the past couple of weeks, I was just trying to see what I could do with the actual spline mesh in this rather than bringing the splines out and wrapping geometry around them. I also kind of realized this might have been the way. There was a project by Florian Thamer. He had a good walkthrough of his xParticles project where he wrapped these splines around a skull, and it was like a really awesome looking thing. And I remember in watching it, what he said he kind of went through is he had to do this kind of stuff. He had to clean out the geometry that he was sending these splines to. I should mention I'm using the xpCover modifier, and what that's doing is it's using the emitter, and what the emitter is doing is sending particles to this bust that is native to Cinema 4D, and I'm just kind of using that for the mesh. So this project is Spline Man is what I have it labeled as, but it doesn't ultimately end up looking like a head at the end of it, because you can see I'm having a ton of freezes and crashes in Cinema just because of the huge amount of the geometry I was creating. So what I'm doing is sending particles over to the head. I'm making trails off of those. So I'm sending it to the head with the xpCover material. I'm making trails off of those with xpTrails, and then I'm using this xpSplineMesher to make a mesh around those splines. And you can see in the past few seconds there's a ton of crashes and just like killing the program and stuff like that. So what I'm doing here is just kind of fighting with figuring out how much geometry I could, my computer can handle, and then because ultimately I went to animate this, so I want to make sure that not only am I getting a good frame at the end, but can I actually deal with the animation. So I tried an alternate thing here. I converted the xpTrails to its own geo, and then I tried sweeping some cylinders on that, but it wasn't really helping with it was the same kind of issue because it was, I think, just so much geo. So I went back to the drawing board a little bit here, tried to take more off of the more polygons off of the mesh that it was going to, in hopes that it would send less tendrils to the mesh and thus create less geometry. And ultimately I think that's where I had success in lightening up the load of this scene. So from here, what I finally did was I cashed out. I got my emitter with the turbulence on it to kind of flow in the way that I wanted it to. I cached out for the first time. That's my first time actually using xParticles cache, and I probably should have done it sooner because I just kept running that simulation over and over again. So here's my face at the end of this. Another big battle I had was getting enough subdivision on those tendrils so I can get like a rounded cap. So I went into the size and tried to use the Bezier points to kind of feather it off there so that it kind of came to a softer point. And that was like, this was about a 3-hour experiment. So it was getting late. I wanted to get something put out for the day, so I learned that kind of at the end how to get that kind of smooth cap. So that was awesome, because I'll definitely bring that next time. So what I got was these tendrils, this kind of sea urchin looking thing, forming this face, and I did have a camera issue with my focal point at the end of my animation. So at the end of the actual animation, it doesn't come into focus, but I really do like the look of this. I also want to edit that a little bit, how the speed ramp just kind of snaps at the end. That's playing with the speed of the particles and going on from there. So I learned a lot this week. I'm happy to continue to play around with xParticles, and I'm really happy you guys joined me once again, so I really appreciate it. So that's all for this week's episode. You know how YouTube works. Like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitch at Jeremy_Walker. That's JRMY_WLKR. Visit my website for updates, or shoot me an email at jeremy@jeremywalker.com. Thanks again so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all next week on The Drill.